President Biden has arrived in Lithuania to attend the NATO summit. This is on the heels of news from NATO's Secretary General that Turkey will back Sweden's entry into the alliance. It was one of the top issues to be discussed among the leaders meeting this week in Vilnius as the war in Ukraine continues. Ahead of the summit, President Biden met with the UK's Prime Minister in London earlier today, and they reaffirmed their support for Ukraine. So for more on all of this, we have CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang joining us now from London. Good to see you, Weijia, across the pond. A big day over there in Europe with more to come. Let's talk about this news of Sweden seeming to be on a faster track to joining NATO because of Turkey agreeing. What was behind the holdup here, and how is the administration feeling about this?
So there are a lot of players, Caitlin, in this huge game of chess that ultimately resulted in a win for several of those players, including Turkey and Sweden and the U.S. and all of the members of NATO. So bear with me. Initially, Turkey made clear that it was rejecting Sweden's push to join NATO because it felt that Stockholm was not cracking down enough on groups that it considers terrorists. And then today we had a surprise move by Turkish President Erdogan, who also demanded that the EU revisit talks with Turkey to open the door to resume their process to join the European Union. And those talks have been stalled since he took power. And so it seemed like he moved the goalpost. So today, it ultimately ended with a couple of ways. One, Sweden changed its constitution and recommitted to counterterrorism efforts, and also decided to resume arms exports to Turkey, which is something else that Turkey had been wanting. Secondly, there was a really important meeting in Vilnius, where the NATO summit is happening, between President Erdogan and the president of the European Council, who tweeted after the meeting to say that they explored opportunities ahead to bring cooperation back to the forefront and re-energize our relations. In other words, to at least crack the door open for Turkey to be reconsidered to join the EU. And so because of all of that, now you have Sweden moving ahead because Turkey has given the green light, and you have Turkey inching closer, it would seem, to joining the European Union as well. But Caitlin, on both of these separate tracks, I should add, there is no timeline, and there still needs to be worked out a lot of details before either happens, but it certainly is progress on the eve of this historic summit in NATO.
Yeah, progress indeed, especially since President Biden was saying that he was very hopeful that this would happen, but point noted about the timeline. So we'll wait and see when exactly this happens. Speaking of what's next for Biden, he is headed to Lithuania. This is a huge deal, obviously, for the NATO summit, trying to present a united front here, kind of a legacy for this president. What is on the agenda for tomorrow? What else should we expect this week?
I think there are going to be a lot of robust conversations about how to deal with Ukraine's potential membership into NATO as well. Right before leaving, the president said during an interview that he does not believe this is the right time for Ukraine to join NATO, because he is worried, essentially, that if that were to happen during the war with Russia, then all of the allies, all of the member states would have to be dragged into the conflict as well. Not all members of NATO agree necessarily. Some support Ukraine's joining a lot sooner for more protection for Ukraine, for a better chance at Ukraine achieving democracy. They'll also be talking about a controversy that has exploded back home, too, which is the president's decision to provide cluster munitions to Ukraine in the war. Now, those are canisters that are filled with several smaller bombs that, when scattered across a wide area, obviously have a huge impact. And there are members of the president's own party who point to the fact that over 100 nations ban these weapons, and that they could have duds and explode at a time that is unexpected, that could possibly hurt civilians. And so that will be a topic that the president has to defend his decision on as well. So a lot to discuss, but the bottom line, you're right, Caitlin, is to present a united front again to send a message to Putin that this alliance is only strengthening by the day.
All right, Weijia Jiang traveling with the president. I know we'll hear from you later this week as you continue on covering this summit. Thanks so much for your time and reporting.